in our meetings, it's always consciousness talking to itself. It's never somebody who knows better or who's got it speaking to somebody who hasn't got it. There is no such a thing as somebody who uh, has it and somebody who hasn't. There is no separate entity. That's what's being shared, and you have to see if that's your experience, that's your understanding. That there is a reality, the reality which perceives. That's also being shared. You have to see if that's your experience, that there is a reality which is the reality which perceives, and that this reality is aware and is invisible. It's invisible to the senses. You cannot perceive its color, its shape, and yet it's undeniable. You cannot deny consciousness. Everything that's being shared has to be double checked. You need to double check for you if what is being shared, you say yes to it, or you say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So it's really, really important for you to say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Because if you do perceive or understand, or your experience is otherwise, then it's important to explore it together. That's part of the meetings. It's not about like saying, oh yeah. So what's being shared here is that I is the same I as yourself. Is only one I. It's not that it's like a good I and a bad I, or a knowledgeable I and a non-knowledgeable, less knowledgeable I. What's being shared is there's only one I, one reality, one self, and that thou art that, you are that, I am that, I am that. So you need to double check if this makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, or if there are questions, then we need to look into them together. It's not about get hypnotized by what I'm saying, and I'm gonna slip the pill to you. While you're hypnotized, I'm gonna slip the pill to you, and you're gonna become disciples of the great guru, some BS like that. No, all that is nonsense. It's an exploration, a joint exploration. It's a sharing, questioning, and wondering, and exploring. And that's what I love to do. That's what I do. And we get together and we just explore this together. Somehow we're interested. There's a shared interest in saying. Hey, Eric. Let's see. I'm going to hand this up. Let's see.
Hi, Magdi.
Hey, Eric.
Speaking of exploration, I guess out of necessity, can you hear me okay? I couldn't find my microphone hookup.
Yes, I hear you good enough, yeah.
Okay. It's been a really extraordinary week, or more than a week. Life presenting challenges in the form of family, but it's really the emotional charge is, and I ran across this wonderful metaphor. It's like we keep these prisoners almost, and this relates to kind of like the yoga of the body, almost like we keep thoughts or emotions of, let's say, resentment, which really, you know, someone or some situation supposedly hurt us, or we're frustrated or angry or fearful. And it triggers thinking, and this thinking paradoxically, when I looked at all of this stuff long enough and then just saw the whole thing, and all the commentary stopped, and was just fully present to every sensation, I could see a thought arise, and like a word, and it immediately grabs. You're no longer, you're only present to that. It's like like consciousness just almost shrinks down. But what I wrote was that these prisoners that we hold us prisoner. It's like the bondage of self is these unhealed emotions that we're not willing to look at. Or I mean, I'm speaking from experience, but I think it's the human condition a lot is, unfortunately, and I think this is potentially a great value of the yoga, or some kind of yoga, if you want to put a name to it, because this is this is how we get stuck, and this is how I see like families getting in individuals this barrier to being present, and it's this
Mhm. No,
unawareness of, you could call it a blind spot, or
we have
in other words,
different
we're
ways
thinking about something that is not real. It's not, there's some other that we are assuming all of these different images and thoughts about an other, and where are they?
Right,
It's simply not here.
right, right. Yeah,
It sounds simple and stupid, but it's like we do it all the time, and
yes,
all the dialogue that is just totally uh,
yes,
the commentary. When the commentary stops, it's a totally different life. And
right,
I
yes,
guess my point is, this is kind of what I'm exploring. It's like there's a driver of this, and it can be unseen emotion sometimes, or you can call it identification. It's like someone has these feelings, or there was a me that was supposedly hurt. Where are they?
but you know what drive
It's like almost like a, in the body, like a pattern. I'm sorry, go ahead.
what drives everything is consciousness. There is it's all God's play. There isn't any other force, any other power outside of the one reality, outside of consciousness. So recollections of the past, sensations within the body, resisting the entire play of blaming, avoiding, denying. The game of resistance is God's game. It's all part of the weather. It's the internal weather and the external weather are one weather.
Yes, and I mean it's easy to see in others, of course, and which is something I've known for a long time. But there's some kind of like, actually part of this exploration started because of some chronic pain I was experiencing, and going around and around and for different physical methods of dealing with this pain, until I heard that there can be, it's a way of not directly looking. It's like this is an acceptable way to have unacceptable feelings, is to feel a physical pain. It's a very strange thing, but this is a phenomenon in consciousness that happens.
Yes.
And that's helped me. And
so like you are with pain without fighting the pain or without resisting the pain. In the same manner, you can be with other sensations within the body. What we refer to as the psychology of the human mind is basically, you can summarize it down to bodily sensations and thoughts. So in the same way that you can be as presence, as awareness to the pain, to the chronic pain, of course, doing whatever you can do, at the phenomenal level. Similarly, you can be with your family, with all the thoughts and sensations that are brought up in relationships with the family, or other thoughts and whatever produces certain thoughts and certain sensations to arise. You can be as the neutral awareness, and so it's a yoga in a way. It's a process by which the more you experiment with being as presence, not as a problem solver, not as trying to figure things out. It's just the more you are experimenting with being as presence, with whatever appears, whatever arises to you within your body, within your mind, within your world, the more you will find stability in situations that in the past used to rock your boat. You will find yourself less and less rocked, or maybe shorter durations. The rocking of the boat is just, it's not a big deal, as opposed to what it was, in the past. So, like, we're provided, like Francis reminds us, with opportunities, to sort of run these experiments, because we have the understanding about presence, about awareness, about the unborn, about the unmoved, about the unaffected, about that which is and cannot not be. Since we already have that understanding, we can apply that understanding in our life during these opportunities, or whether you can call them challenges if you want. And as we are applying this understanding, then we can get confirmations or not, confirmation or not, about how what is the impact of how does it work? What is the effect of being as presence, as awareness, as
one of the key things that is important is that it's, and Francis would talk about this, many have talked about it, but until you experience it, it just seems like a theory, but it's seeing things impersonally because there are so many. I mean, it's actually extremely rare to be able to look at some of these things impersonally, these charged, seemingly charged situations like in a family where there's a lot of conflict, to have the presence with one's own feelings to just see the whole thing neutrally. It sounds like it's cold or uncompassionate if you try to describe it, but it's a dissolving. It's like a melting.
Everything is impersonal, except that we
Yes,
want to make it
yes,
personal. We like the personal
exactly.
story. We like to make a story about me and him, me and her, while in fact it is impersonal. In the absence of downloading the personal story, it is just what it is.
The tricky
But
thing is,
we download that story. We download the old story or new story about me and her, me and him, me and them, etc. We love that. We love that download.
yeah, right. The tragic comedy that makes the world go round.
Yeah, I mean, we get together and we repeat. Oh yeah, oh yes, yes, and then they did this and that and that. Oh yeah, well, that and that happened to me. We love that the downloads. If you look at those downloads, they provide an impression of a personal, like something personal, upon an event which is impersonal, like the weather. Well, she didn't like what I said, and she said, "Well, this sounds really stupid. What you just said sounds really stupid." What makes it personal? They're like sound waves. In fact, it is impersonal. But when I say, "Hey, you don't talk to me that way," how dare you talk to me that way? From where? I mean, I'm not your brother for you to talk to me. You need to talk to me with respect. Boom. There is the personal download. She and I, him and me, them and I. Uh, and then it's like the spool. The tighter, the more you're winding the string around the spool. The spool, like you start with a rubber band and you put another one around. Before you know it, it's like holy hell.
Very, very complicated ball. Yeah.
Yes, it's just rubber bands.
Well, here's the sort of the yoga of um, being a part of, quote, part of a family, and yet not of the family. Is there's these different, you know like the internecine warfare. So these different clans, but I'm friends with everybody, and
Everybody's gonna beat on you.
I have to be very careful. Like I said something to my niece that triggered an incredible reaction. She's still not talking to me, and it does pain me. I mean,
Well,
I don't even know what's going on with her, and
I know family stories. Oh my goodness.
yeah, yeah.
You're talking to somebody who has five brothers and
I was
so many,
one of five,
so many
and the
cousins
in-laws
and
are the in-laws are the greatest source of
oh yeah,
of soap opera
ex in-laws, ex in-laws.
or ex-in-laws.
Well, this is that's quite a challenge. I remember, one of the big hurdles I had when I was much younger was my mom. I had this sort of like this strong relationship with my mom, sort of like loving her and protecting her and honoring her and putting her, on a high pedestal next to Virgin Mary. She's I always experienced it's sort of being bound, in my relationship with my mom. But yeah, it was one of those things that sort of had to take a look at, and at some point, come to freedom, not freedom from the love for my mom, no, but freedom from this intricate, psychological relationship. And it's part of, we are served, we're given a deck of cards, and we've got to sort of figure out how to play the game with the cards that we've been given. What is the winning hand? How can I play that hand? And for each one of us, it's particular to every one of us, but we all have family cards. We all have a bunch of family cards dealt to us.
I think what part of the difficulty is seeing so much sensitivity and extreme sensitivity, like with my niece, and how she's so flighty and stressed and easily thrown off balance. And then I feel like there's nothing I can do.
You don't want to play the me game with somebody who's playing the me game. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you do what you can, but you don't want to now find yourself playing the me game, because it's completely, it doesn't help. It doesn't bring clarity to anybody. So you can't participate. I mean, you can relate, but you can't participate by being a player in that game. Of course, if somebody is knocking on your door, you open the door. If you feel that, okay, maybe if you scratch at the door, they will open, then in that case, you may find that there is some way in which you can share some things with her, because there is some opening. But if, she's entrenched into the me game, then there is no room to sort of maneuver around that. Then you don't want to put fuel into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's this, I mean, for a while, I felt like by focusing on what I know, so to speak, or the happiness, knowing, experiencing happiness, it felt like in relation to what happened, I was being almost, I can see how it would be seen as like narcissistic, or, you say sorry, but be happy, be free, you let them free. I mean, I'm not a parent, and yet it's like this delicate balancing act of you want to 100% be as happy as you can, grounded in your peace and happiness.
I mean, we are the happiness. I mean, this is what we are. It's just not to put upon our happiness the veil of personhood. Happiness is our true nature. There's no person, there's no body who is happy. That's just an illusion. There is just a happiness, a peace and happiness, our true nature, and we live in relationship as best as we can, hopefully with that understanding, with the understanding that happiness is universal, that peace is universal, that the true nature of your niece is peace and happiness, choosing to play the game of a victim or feeling hurt or whatever. I don't know, whatever the details are. And that's her freedom. You know, the freedom is absolute. It's a freedom of consciousness that is being downloaded into your niece's mind as the freedom to play a game.
It's really the all about what to do and where it was coming from. The last thing I want to do is respond as a me from that sense of any kind of telling them what to do or defending anything or
and sometimes there is no response.
Being a spiritual person or anything.
Absolutely. That would be futile. But I was saying that sometimes no response is a response too. Well, sometimes what is there to say? I'm here. I love you. I hope to see you sometime. Call me when you have a chance. Keep me posted how you're doing. I don't know.
I responded in a way that I can imagine may have sounded cold, but it was wishing her the best possible. It's like you can't really win. It's like if anything you say is going to be taken.
Whenever I'm sharing something and I get like an impression, an inner sense that maybe it's, it needs to be, I don't know, maybe let's say softened, for example. I encourage myself to pay attention to that, that voice within me saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe you can say it in a gentler way or whatever. I pay attention to that voice. Not a big deal, but then I may edit a little bit what I'm trying to say, or follow up with a little note, because that inner intuition, like you said, I felt like maybe I had an intuition, maybe that was a little cold. That intuition, I somehow listen to that intuition. Not that you have to, but I'm just sharing with you that I somehow hear that voice saying, it's just, why are you being so, it feels harsh, it feels cold.
Yeah.
So,
well,
just sharing some thoughts here.
The only thing I can do now is, her birthday's on Tuesday. I'm going to send her an e-card. And
beautiful, yeah. Oh, great.
Hopefully I can sit.
How old is she?
35.
Oh, okay.
And I hadn't seen her for a long time. And, we spent 10 days together, and she's really, we share a lot of loves, but she's definitely in a different world.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Does she like chocolate? Does she like chocolate? Maybe you send her a box of chocolate for her if she likes chocolate.
Well, maybe I'll think of something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just hoping that it's a warm response, and it's not. But I can't control, however, what space they're in.
Yeah.
It's just hard when you have no contact because they don't want to talk to you right now. So all I can do is just let them be free. And,
you can remain open to them and love them, and see how it goes. Who knows how it will unfold.
Anyway, my point was, it's been very much a wonderful kind of liberation to, I think there's a lot in us that we can still be binding us in a way that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And it's these things that where we something happens that alerts us. Right. It's like the little thorn in the side. It's like, whoa, wake up.
What matters is that in the moment when we experience some confusion or some unhappiness, to take a look at that moment, like what is our mind trip? What are we taking ourselves to be? Yes, there are all sorts of things that are, let's say, maybe buried, but what matters is in our life, in our relationships, in our interactions, when there is unhappiness, judgment, annoyance, anger, feeling hurt, to take a look, feeling self-worth, less self-worth, or feeling unloved, whatever, to take a look at what we're assuming ourselves to be.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting, going after unconscious material or any kind of psychology like that. I am, again, what is right now?
Yes.
What are the sensations and the thoughts? It's really simple. It's not so easy, again, though, because of habits of avoidance. I love the title of one of Carl Renz's talks is called "The Absence of a Tendency of Avoidance."
Okay. Yes.
He does like his summary of his.
So like avoidance, avoidance and resistance. They're like mirror images of each other.
Now, why are we so afraid of feelings? I had a wonderful teacher named Cindy Banks who would say that. And like Francis says, it's not going to kill you. It's just sensations.
Well, I mean, fear makes sense because fear is what keeps us alive, and so there is a fear calls our attention. It grabs our attention. So it makes sense to have fear, but then you have to look at, okay, is there an actual valid reason for the fear? So fear is like a protecting. It has protecting mechanism aspect to it. It's okay. The fear is okay, but you have to take a look at what are you protecting. If you're protecting your body from a cobra, it makes very sense to be afraid. But if you're protecting your image, from being ridiculed, then you need to take a look at that. And of course, we have the understanding about reality that an image, consciousness is not an image. I'm not an image. I'm not a sensation. I am the transparent, aware presence. You see the reality that is. So yes, often there is an instinctive confusion when there is a fear that basically says, oh, it's a very valid fear. So, and then of course there is all the mechanism of protection and defense and blaming, etc. So it's at that moment of non-discernment, we're not able to discern between an actual fear, a valid fear, and an invalid fear. So it's
like the natural mechanism turned towards imaginary.
Yes. And the more often we catch that fear protecting the imaginary me, the more we notice that and say, oh, darn. The more we notice that, the less power that fear has, and the less often the frequency of that illusion, the fear about protecting the illusory self manifests, the less it will manifest.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Huh?
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Progress.
Yeah, it was like so much energy was taking out of what was driving I like that metaphor. I think maybe Ramana gave it, of the fan.
Yes.
Spinning fan. And it's just like a lot of energy was taken out of it. And it's just,
Yeah.
I like Holger's little joke here. Avoid dance.
Avoid dance. Forget it. There's one whole God among us.
Well, thank
All
you.
right.
Good discussion.
All right. Nice talking to you, Eric. Good to see you. Good to see you.